what's up? Red Panda Anthem. Red Panda, what's good?
That's fascinating. Earlier when you were talking about the advertising agency side, are you actively reaching out to the ad agencies to try and get the deals done, or are you just researching them to understand like the supply chain and how the money is being dispersed to influencers?
I'll be really honest with you. Personally, I have not had to reach out for any work that I've ever done. So I am very lucky that, I've been very lucky that like everything I have is inbound requests. I haven't had the capacity to go out and necessarily pitch myself. But I think what's been valuable is that I've had a lot of PR. So in terms of, and not paid for PR, my PR has been all organic in that the features I've had are because people have seen my work and my work has spoken for like my value. However, I think that pitching is a really important thing to do if someone is really like, they're new and nobody knows who they are. I think going out there, introducing yourself, letting people know what you can do is a super important thing to do. There are some websites that allow you to find certain people's contacts in the PR industry. I cannot for the life of me remember what that is. But again, people can look for some of these places to find email addresses for PR. And LinkedIn's a great place as well.
LinkedIn, very important platform. So where's your family from originally? Is it Nigeria?
Nigeria, yeah.
Okay. So the UK is interesting. If I could just talk about the dynamics of that for a little bit with you. So in America, I think Black people make up like 16% of the population. But in the UK, it's like 2% of the population. But another
2%.
2%. But another thing about it that's interesting is that in America, like we have a lot of immigrants, like Troy's family, they're from Jamaica. But like I think Ian and myself as well, like we African American, different names, however you want to call it, but like we've been here, so it's not necessarily immigrants. Like we're like part of the actual foundation of America, whereas in the UK they don't have that, right? Like every Black person that's there is an immigrant at most point. So it's like the financial literacy is even harder because they're not only at a disadvantage because they're even a smaller part of the population, but they're everybody's first generation or second generation. Like every single person is coming from a country like Ghana or Nigeria or Jamaica. So you have a lot of challenges. So talk about the landscape for Black people in the UK, because a lot of people don't even know that there is a Black population in London or the UK. It's just crazy because a lot of people are just not educated enough because they don't travel. So talk about the landscape, the challenges that you face, and why financial literacy is so important for the Black community in the UK.
Yeah, this is a really big thing in that, yes, we are a very small population, and immigrants who come over are usually like the parents are cleaners, the parents are low income jobs, the majority of them. So some of them come over as students and maybe they're super educated back home, but they come here and they can literally only be a security guard. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but they don't necessarily have those jobs in really high positions. So I think the key thing I've noticed with all the Africans that have come over that I know personally, first generation, the thing that their parents pressurize them on is education, education, education. Go to school, read your books. And that's the only way to kind of get out of the concept of poverty. So the pressure is very much on the younger generation, or my generation, to be successful, because the parents are relying on the children to kind of do that. However, the parents have no assets, they own no homes, they own no land, and they don't always understand the system. So that's one of the biggest challenges is if you know how to operate in the system, you can do well. You know how to get a mortgage, you have a connect here, you have a connect there, someone sorts you out and gets your kids a job, which is what happens with the English people who are from here all the time. But immigrants are literally starting from zero. But in a good way, I think it means that when we are successful, we're extremely successful. And we've just had to like force that literacy and force that understanding and focus on our education to really be successful. But it isn't easy. I'm not going to lie, it isn't easy for the immigrants here. And for the second generation, so people whose parents were born here, you also usually notice things being a little bit better for them. So again, I'm thinking third and fourth generations here are going to be in a lot better situations, I would hope.
Yeah, shout out to Brixton. Shout out to all my Jamaicans out there.
they're out here.
Yeah, so we ran into each other in LA, and it was like randomly, we're in the elevator. I'm like, wait, what are you doing here? And you're like, I just came from Fiji. And so it got me to wonder. I'm like, can you
live a life?
Yeah, I mean,
live a life.
Fiji, right?
Hermes, property.
I'm like, oh, you just yeah. This is just a stopover. So on my way back to London. But I was wondering, like, because a lot of people don't understand even that type of connection with brands. Is like, oh, wait, you can actually use your following to actually benefit you for traveling. And so, can you talk about that and how that can help you in your journeys?
Yeah, I mean, so there's different ways it works. So number one, I've worked with tourism boards. So there are countries that want people to come and visit the country. So they'll pay you to come out there and take content of the country. So I recently went to Abu Dhabi. I've worked with, some Caribbean islands. I've worked with even Switzerland, and we've gone out there. So they literally want the world to know about their country as a place to come to, which is what used to happen to Dubai a lot. Dubai used to pay a lot of people to come to Dubai. I was paid
nice amount.
to come, a lot to come to, not by any man or anything like that. No, the tourism board itself of the country was like, please come and experience Dubai because we want the world to know. And now the majority of the income from Dubai actually comes from tourism and obviously, oil and all that jazz. And then there's the other side of brands often want to create experiences around their products or their launches. So say, for instance, I went to Fiji. That was a brand who had something in association with World Ocean Day, and some of their ingredients come from Fiji. So they say, everyone, let's go to Fiji and have an immersive session about the product. So usually they often bring people who are fans of the brand, fans of the product, or at least going to inform people about the product. So I'm kind of there like a journalist. And also journalists for many years have been living the good life. Like journalists from traditional media, they've been doing this. They stayed at the finest hotels. They've traveled the world on the dime of other companies. But now actually online creators are the new journalists because we are fundamentally bring the message of the brand and the product out to our communities. So that's how I travel the world.
Yeah, you become a virtual postcard, right? Because it's like, rather than getting a brochure for a country, you can go social media and see 10,000 pictures of the same place, and now it becomes super attractive. So great strategy.
Exactly, yeah.
I know you haven't had to reach out for it, but for a person who wants to have brands pay for their travel and to visit, what are the best practices to be able to reach out and begin to have those deals come in for them?
So I think number one is to kind of find out who the travel, say for travel specifically, you'd want to reach out to travel PR agencies. So there's agencies that are focused on tech or travel or beauty or fashion. So finding out who those travel PR agencies are, meeting up, connecting with them, doing a media pack, showing what you've done in the past and showing what you could create for a brand, and then having them keep you in mind is super important. You can also reach out to hotels as well. So a lot of hotels actually are building, say Four Seasons may build a new hotel in the Seychelles that people aren't aware of. So if you were to find out about the news about that, you could reach out to the Four Seasons, say, I'd love to do some publicity for you guys. Here's what I can create. Obviously, you'd email their marketing or their PR team, show them what you can do, and they may host you for 4 nights to kind of create content for them and market the brand. And actually, a lot of these companies, they already spend money on like a photographer and a marketing team. They may have budget that they've put, 20 grand aside to do that. But actually, you're like, no, I'll do it for you, but just let me enjoy the experience. They probably won't have a problem with that.
Yeah, when I went to SLS Bahamas, I feel like everyone that stayed there was like taking contact. I'm like, what is going on? They're like, oh, you paid to be here? I felt like the only idiot. I'm like, tell me who the
That does happen, I'm not going to lie.
I'm like, my God. Yeah. So, yeah.
I try not to tell everyone when I'm at the hotel, I don't tell them I'm there for free because no, not everyone wants to know that. Yeah.
It's one of these things, going back to the tourism thing, and that's interesting that you said it about Dubai, because I actually pitched this to a few African countries. I won't say the names of the countries, but they didn't get it. And I'm like, my thing is like, you should pay for Earn Your Leisure, Market Mondays. You should pay for us to come to your country because it's good PR. It's tourism. And we do that anyway. Like when we go to Nigeria, we went to Nigeria, we went to Egypt, we're going to put content up anyway because we're there. Yeah. So now it's appealing and it gives people a whole different view of the country and it makes people want to go. That's why Dubai became so popular, because everybody was posting pictures. The one country that does understand that, that's getting it, is Ghana. Yeah. And that's why you see Ghana's economy thriving the way it is because, they've targeted specifically Black Americans. So it's become a travel destination for Black Americans. They did the Year of the Return. They're doing all of that. And it's a strategic PR targeting campaign for tourism, Black tourism specifically. And it makes sense. And I don't understand why other countries haven't really adopted that. But I feel like for the countries, anybody that's listening, that makes tremendous sense because this is a way that is going to give your country good PR. This is a way that's going to highlight your country, and this is a way that's going to drive millions and billions of dollars in tourism and business and investment to your country, because social media is the window of the world.
Bahamas, 100%. Caribbean islands, Mexico, Australia, please call.
Jamaica.
There's a lot of Caribbean islands who are getting into it now. There's a few that have reached out, so fingers crossed. Like I'm seeing a lot more happen in the Caribbean. So, and they've got beautiful islands.
Can we do a collab potentially?
Yeah, we'll try and hook something up.
Yeah, you gotta let us know, because honestly, I feel like at this point you shouldn't really be paying for anything, and that's why I told Abdullah that, like, going forward, try not to pay for anything. Like if we go out to eat, we should sponsor. Somebody should sponsor the dinner. If we're gonna be in a club anyway, as you know, that legendary night.
Yeah.
You might as well just put us on a flyer and we'll just promote the party and
pack it out.
Exactly.
We're gonna pack it out. We got a good time.
It's a balance though. It's a balance, because once everything's free, like it loses the pizzazz. Because I go on trips that nobody knows about and I pay for entirely, because the pressure of always creating on the trip is also long. Like I actually want to enjoy myself, and I don't want to always be on. So it's always about, like, I go for those trips that I see them as, this is a work trip. When I go to Switzerland and I'm working with the hotel brand, that was a work trip. But then there's other things that this is my trip, where I don't necessarily need to commercialize that part of my life.
See, my whole life is commercial, so it's everything I do is Instagram anyway. So.
You're like, nah, everything, man.
Some things they can't see.
This that Red Panda Anthem. Ian, what's up? This that Red Panda Anthem. Red Panda, what's good? Red Panda Anthem. Your boy going up. I know they can't stand it.